Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Frederick, what are some bad habits that one can pick up from working at a large company? So let's get into it. Well, I would say that my favorite for this sort of issue is going to be, I'm not sure if it's a habit, but for me it was a habit for sure. And the worst habit that you can kind of get to is well, you become a code monkey basically. And what I mean by a code monkey is basically that you get accustomed to not giving a shit about the company. I'm sorry to say. I know this sounds super scary to all of the big IT companies out there, but I will promise you right here, right now, it's probably not a mystery to you either. This is why the startup mentality is so popular these days, because, people want their employees to care about the company, because most people don't. They don't give a shit about the company. I can tell you that large organizations where you have hierarchies and hierarchies and hierarchies and layers and layers and layers of people and managers and decision makers and movers and pushers, most of the people who work for these companies, they don't give a shit about that company. And it's kind of natural, because as humans, we don't have the capacity to care about things that get too far out into the peripherals of our universe. You care about the people that you have lunch with. You care about the people you see every day and you talk to and you have coffee with. You cannot possibly have the same emotional investment in an entire organization that might be hundreds, if not thousands of people. But that is something that becomes a bit of a habit, at least in my experience when it comes to large organizations. You simply start to treat every story and kind of everything you want to do as just a formality. It's a good way to describe it is that in a really, really small company, you don't have the luxury of just reading the story card and the specification written for you and calling it a day. Because if you only do that thing, you don't try to think about the bigger picture and things of this nature, it's very unlikely that your company is going to go anywhere. And the simple reason is because at small scale, you don't have the time to actually properly investigate every single microscopic facet of every single thing that you want to do. Most of your stories and the tasks that are before you are a little bit looser. You have a bit more personal freedom, because you simply can't afford to have maybe 3 rows of groups of people who are going to sit and set requirements, they're going to do the investigation, they're going to do like all of these things, right? And if you don't have that, you need to actually care about the work you do, because you are basically the person who embodies all of this at the same time. In a really large organization, it's very much more the other way around, where you likely have very little say, because there's a pipeline of things that happen way before your story arrives in your backlog. And by the time it arrives in your backlog, it's pretty much just a formality to implement it. It's just, right, do this thing. We have told you to do this thing. Your opinions are considered, but they don't really matter all that much. It's very common that happens, and as you can imagine, as if you are a developer who truly cares about your profession, this is like this fastest killer of your motivation, because you don't have an opinion on things, or rather your opinion doesn't really matter. There's simply too much invested. It's almost a systematic flaw of this way of working, where people have basically just invested so much time in creating these requirements for you. So by the time it comes to you and you point out a flaw or like an oversight in something, you basically just kind of have to hack it together, because now they're already working on the next batch of things that they're going to plan in a flawed way. And that's the basic problem of waterfall. You invest enormous amounts of time, and then the next thing comes along, and by the time that happens, well, there's not time to do it all over again. So becoming a code monkey is very, very, very common in these large organizations. And it basically just means that you get into this habit of just literally you read the card, you do the exact thing the card says, and you don't give a shit about asking questions from stakeholders. I mean, you don't have access to these people in the first place. I mean, silly little things in a small company that really matter, such as having easy access to all the people who have the answers to your questions, are the sorts of things that make the difference, and that's something the larger organizations, like some of them don't even understand it, but all they see is how inefficient they are at producing results. I work towards such organizations where, I mean, we can build, like I can build, me and my team, we can build things in a fraction of the time it takes them to build the same thing. And it has to do with everything from, you know, we have all the people who actually know everything that is needed and have the ability to make decisions in the same team. These agile practices, they do actually work. Because if you can imagine yourself, if you raise an issue in a really large company and you know that in order for you to ever be able to, like, it can be a silly thing, it could be anything from, oh no, this box is in the wrong place, or it doesn't really feel the right way, or it should work this way instead of that way because of things that are already there. I mean, if you want to change that, and in order for you to change that, you basically have to schedule a meeting, get everybody, for all the stakeholders into a room, and which, you know, it can take maybe days, if not weeks, to get everybody to just sit down and have a discussion about it. How much motivation do you think as a programmer you will feel to actually do that? Well, it's much more likely that you're going to be lazy about it and say, all right, I'll just hack it together, and then just like, let's not even think about it. And that's like all these tiny little things, like this resistance that exists in making good and like fast decisions within a large company is the thing that amounts to becoming a code monkey or becoming an apathetic developer, someone who just doesn't really care about what you do. And that is the worst habit that you can get, and as a company, the thing that you want to fight the absolute most. Some companies try to fight this by using things like hackathons once a year or twice a year or every other month or something like that. And although that helps a little bit, it's not really the same thing. Yeah, for sure, this is going to be my answer. So what I want you to take away from this is that the worst habit that you can adopt within a large company is that the machinery in a large company usually is very elaborate, very well established. And that process is the thing that keeps the company running. And if that process basically creates a situation where your developers don't feel as if they're included in anything, and they don't have the ability to make good architectural or engineering decisions because you simply have a process where you've already prepared everything and now it's up to them to just kind of deal with it, that waterfall mindset, that is going to breed that exact thing that I'm talking about. They're simply going to stop caring about how things turn out for the company. They don't care about good or bad decisions. They only care about doing their job so they will get paid and then they go home. And that habit of working works, it will work in a large company, mostly because they have the money and the resources to just survive anyway, regardless of if it's a decay to the product or not. But for small companies where, you know, money is tight, it can be the kiss of death to your entire business. Because, I mean, you think about it yourself. You hire engineers who are experts in their field in order to gain the value of what they can do. And knowing how to write the code is just part of that value. Small companies understand this, and that's why they put such pressure on the recruitment process to really get good developers. But larger companies tend to do kind of the same thing. It's just that because of the way the infrastructure within the company, usually through legacy reasons, work, they simply don't change the underlying problem, which is the process of delivery. So yeah, that's gonna be my answer. Be very careful if you work in a large company, because if you become a code monkey, you're gonna find it very hard to go from a really large company to a startup or something like that, where it's the complete reverse. You need to take a lot of personal responsibility in a much broader sense than in a large company. Have a great day.